Welcome to the future. PBS Digital.
Last time on Everyday Edisons, our second-hand picked group of Everyday Edisons and their inventions were revealed.
We have got a great new group of inventors. These are 7 individuals that are so much different than the first group that we worked with.
Some inventors had a fully viable prototype.
And being an engineer, he designed this, the ball.
So it's like, it's a Spillproof Bowl.
While others just had a great idea.
Instead of just spinning in a straight direction, it would actually oscillate going in and out.
But they all share one dream, to make it big.
I'm not motivated by money. I'm motivated by what life has to offer, and that's helping others.
Every great idea deserves a chance to change the way we live, the way we work, and the way we play. From thousands of ideas pitched at casting calls across the country, 7 were handpicked to be developed by a team of product development experts. Each idea will be designed, engineered, branded, and sent to store shelves. And each product's inventor will play a pivotal role in the evolution of their product. Millions could be made, obstacles overcome, dreams will come true on this season of Everyday Edisons. From a grade school teacher to a TV news anchor to a famous inventor looking for a second chance. Our second group of Everyday Edisons and their products are as diverse as they are innovative. And while they all came to us in various stages of development, it's our team's first step to make sure they can all be protected. And in the world of product development, patent protection is a must.
This new group of inventions is fairly wide open in terms of the intellectual property. None of them have patents yet.
Chad Tillman is Everyday Edison's lead patent attorney, and it will be Chad and his team's job to work on getting the strongest patent and trademark protection possible for each of our Everyday Edison's products.
The second set of inventions will have a mixed bag. Some are pioneering in the sense that there's really nothing in their space, and we should be able to carve out fairly broad patent protection. Others will be challenging. It's a crowded field.
So with patent work underway, it's now time for our product development team to begin transforming each invention into a commercially viable product.
On this season of Everyday Edisons, we screened thousands of ideas, and we chose 14 that we believe have the potential to be multi-million-dollar ideas. Jen's product is no different. The fitness market, it's a crowded field. How are we going to develop a product that stands apart from everything else out there? With John's product, he's literally asked us to reinvent the wheel. This is going to be an engineering challenge. The Shepherds brought us one of the best functioning prototypes that we saw at a casting call. Function is important, but it's the design that sells. Chuck is in his 70s, but he's got the curiosity of a child. We've got to take this youthful vision that he has and see if we can actually turn it into a product.
Our first Everyday Edison came to us with a rough prototype that worked for her, but needed a lot of work to make it to market in the highly competitive and fast-paced world of fitness equipment.
One day I had the idea, my stepper was sitting in the corner, and I thought, you know, that's been around for a long time. Somebody should, I don't know, update it, reinvent it, bring it to the next century.
The challenge of designing a product in a crowded and well-protected field of popular products would land on lead industrial designer Daniel Bazell.
So we knew we wanted to attack it and really create something with integrity. But the problem is the IP. There's so much intellectual property in this space that it's exhausting to go through it.
Instead of designing dozens of free-flow concepts, Daniel had to work within a restricted set of parameters.
We could have given up. We just said, we've got to do home run. We got to see what we can do with this. Get at it, go at it, you know, take it to the next step.
With a set of guidelines in place to guide them, Daniel and his team began bringing Jennifer's stabilizing step concept to life through ideation.
the ideas that came out of it are really interesting concepts and exercise that have real integrity to them.
With a clear design direction in mind, the Everyday Edisons engineering team was brought in to make a quick form model of Daniel's new design concept to physically see if it was on the right track.
So while I'm making a form model that maybe we can interact with and see how the feature set works, I'm already thinking a couple steps down the line about how we're going to manufacture this thing.
With the form model or mule made,
this was great. This was absolutely perfect in so much as this is a test device and it's a learning device.
Currently working on the stabilizer, which is going to have its obstacles to overcome. Things don't always go together as planned or work as planned, so modifications are necessary. It's part of the job of being a model maker. It's what creates the challenges and the interest and the drive to get it done right.
Daniel and Chris did an internal test to see how it would initially perform.
Okay, everybody, spend 5 minutes getting ready, okay?
Oh. In every direction.
All right, and can I stand on your back when you're doing this?
I don't know, it's a tough one because most of the feedback was fairly crummy.
There wasn't a whole lot that I felt was beneficial and a whole lot that you could do with it in general.
Well, as a step in the process, it was fine, but that's about it.
Everyone's looking at a way to kind of pick the faults out.
You don't learn anything at all when all you hear is positive things. Oh yeah, it's great. That doesn't tell you anything. You can only make something better when you learn of where its weaknesses lie. We found a lot of weaknesses in it. Perfect, absolutely perfect.
After lukewarm reviews, the mule was tested by exercise physiologist Rose Miller.
I've tried everything to make things work.
And while Rose saw value in what the new step could do,
I think it's got a lot of potential, but it needs a little bit of work.
she had some ideas on how to make it even more functional.
I think you need to add a little bit more of the lower body component for women, which you can get if you alter the size of that, the portion that you stand on. And you need something for the resistance, like the Dynaband resistance for things like shoulders and biceps.
Ideas that Daniel brought back to the drawing board.
And the result of that is she went through all the exercises that we had kind of pointed out with the product and then started looking at other things we can do, such as adding elastic bands. The great thing is Chris Hoy had put some nodes on the bottom to protect your hands when the product rolled. Those end up being great to clasp elastic surgical tubing. And all of a sudden, we just tripled our exercises with that.
So after hours of research, ideation, and form model testing, Daniel was ready to present the final design to Jennifer.
Today's kind of a cool day. I get to disclose like a lot of stuff on your project today. We developed 140 pieces of ideation. Just unique little ideas that are based around your concept, different ways of doing it. What I'm going to show you is what we have an opportunity with, because the other stuff was taken. This, for example, is the idea of the first integrated workout mat. This idea is almost the creation of a teeter step. So we start thinking of ways to create that flexibility that you talked about. And this concept here is actually using two bows and like a trampoline material. You can kind of see how it's turning into a real gym platform, a real product is becoming alive. Everything's really just starting to turn this really cool looking arc that you interact with. It's not that heavy, it's not that big, it's great, especially considering the exercises.
When I saw the product for the first time, it's a concept that will change people's lives.
For her to emotionally be so happy to see her dream just kind of come to life and become something totally new, totally innovative, it could have gone both ways. I mean, she could have said, well, where's my foam pad, my step? She handled it well. She opened her mind, she opened up her idea and realized that this was a really cool concept that she inspired.
Our next inventor came to us with an oscillating printing press roller and an idea on how to mimic the back and forth oscillating movement in the custom wheel world.
It was through my printing company. Our presses all have oscillating rollers, and they go back and forth, and me and my son were looking at spinner wheels in a magazine, and he's wanting me to get some spinners for my truck, and I'm like, well, we're not getting any spinners. And I'm sitting there watching the rollers go back and forth, and so I put the two together, and I said, hey, how about an oscillating spinner?
Before ideation could begin on John's oscillating wheel concept, the engineering team had to determine if it was even physically feasible to do.
At first blush, it's kind of a daunting task.
After testing the concept in CAD, the engineering team determined they could develop wheels that oscillate when a car is at speed.
But we came up with a couple things that would do that. That would oscillate a rim, translate a rim backwards and forwards, or in and out.
But after careful consideration, the engineering team decided the concept, while cool in theory and in a computer environment, it just wasn't safe enough to pursue, and they recommended putting the brakes on the project.
It does, it weighs on me. I cannot say that I fully understand all of the constraints on that wheel. It's an incredibly dynamic and harsh environment that this wheel is living in.
We're early on in the development of John's project, but we've hit a serious roadblock. Our engineering team has come back and they've got concerns over the safety of this invention. Sometimes you make rash decisions, and I'm second-guessing myself at this point. Maybe we shouldn't have taken on this particular invention. On the other hand, we owe it to John to exhaust our resources and find out, can we make this invention, can we make it safe, and can we change the parameters of the invention to stay consistent with his original idea?
So Daniel and company went to work, reinventing the wheel.
He kind of brought this idea of, instead of it being oscillation, secondary movement, or the illusion of oscillation. The illusion of oscillation is a product that seems to bloom from the wheel and retract. Rather than the wheel moving in and out, it's actually more of a growing and retracting, or something similar to what flour does.
With the engineering team's vital input along the way, the design team drew dozens and dozens of concepts that all included the element of secondary movement.
With the right amount of thought put into it, I believe we can do it in a safe sort of way. We can execute it in a safe manner.
So after almost having his project come to a grinding halt, John was brought in to see the final design of his product idea.
So we gave it engineering. They were afraid that it was just going to rip the bolts off the car and the wheels are going to go rolling down the road. We just said, okay, secondary movement. Let's do the coolest wheel and the new idea in secondary movement and wheels. You can see here some of the sketches from those brainstorming sessions of all these concepts, everything from, you know, aerodynamic foils to spring-loaded mechanisms to things that are teetering on like an axle. Yeah. All kinds of cool ideas. So I'll show you a little bit of those on the monitor. This is one that was kind of nicknamed like a bloomer or blooms because it's more like a flower. And it's the idea that we have a sprung-loaded arm that under inertia, just as the spring is overridden, it goes back into the wheel.
And so it's safer, doesn't keep anything out of balance. And
self-contained.
So what essentially we're working with is nothing that spins, but the louver or the spokes that will activate or deactivate.
They actually actuate out into the wheel. This is just one of our stylized versions that we want to prototype.
What about distraction as far as people driving down the road, looking at your wheel?
Well, that's what they want. So what do you think?
Yeah, I like it. It's a little bit different from what I expected, but it does seem like a really catchy idea and something that the public will pick up on, and a lot of people, you know, will enjoy it.
From a commercialization standpoint, I'm the product manager for the oscillating rim concept that John Davis has come up with. I think from this, the possibility of this could be to a manufacturer, meaning that we would sell this directly as a design concept and engineering concepts, hand it off to a manufacturer who would then distribute it to their own particular channels. But that's just a possibility.
So what does it take to be a successful inventor? We went around the country talking to business leaders and Hall of Fame inventors to find out.
You need a combination of stubborn relentlessness and flexibility. And you have to know when to be which. And basically, you need to be stubborn on your vision, because otherwise it'll be too easy to give up. But you need to be very flexible on the details.
It's a combination of, you know, desire, focus, getting into it. And I think the greatest attribute for an entrepreneur is curiosity.
When it comes to inventors, you know, deep inside all of us is a little voice that tells us what we should do, what we must do. Some people don't listen to the voice and live, as they say, lives of desperation. Inventors listen to the voice.
Brad and Melinda Shepard listened to their inner inventor voice when they prototyped their Spillproof Bowl concept. It was the best prototype we saw at casting calls, but it still needs a lot of work before it becomes a marketable product.
I think it's so important to kind of have converted the idea into a working model. It's easier to describe it and show the concept.
Show that it really does work.
Yeah, people are interested in it when they can pick it up and see that, you know, no kidding, it works.
While the Shepard's prototype functioned fairly well, it was big, green, and ugly.
No, the pressure's on because now styling really makes a difference.
Unlike other restrictive projects, the design team had the liberty of being as creative as they could in coming up with the bowl's new design.
And from the beginning, when you sat down at the board, started sketching, it was going to be a lot of fun.
While ideation was in full gear, engineer Kevin Dahlquist went to work on optimizing the bowl's spill-proof performance.
When we looked at the first design, it was apparent that the major thing to address, the factor, was friction.
Instead of using the counterweighted bowl-in-a-bowl concept, Kevin thought a double gimbaled approach might work better.
The first idea that I had was basically just a gimbal, which is something that you might recognize from like a globe or you know, basically what it is it establishes a point, and we fabricated this quickly out of just a piece of sewer pipe that we had around it because it was the right diameter.
Back in industrial design, the design direction was out of this world.
But again, it's one of those products you look at it, and your first thought is, it's a planet, it's a ball, it's a sphere, it's a flying saucer, which works perfectly. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, how many kids are turning their bowl into a flying saucer at this moment?
Confident in the design's direction, Daniel sent his surface files to Kevin, who then began building a spill-proof bowl form model.
We basically just made up the parts in CAD, put it on the FDM machine, pulled out the parts and put it together, and straight off it just worked basically as we anticipated. Everything worked well, so pretty happy ending overall.
So with the final design and form models made, the Shepards are going to be brought in to see what their big green bowl has turned into.
So our job was to really take this and turn it into a commercial product. But I'm going to do things a little bit different today. I'm going to go through this, but you're a professional. You know the process. You know what we're doing, right? Wouldn't you agree?
Maybe.
Okay. So I thought I'd do it a little bit differently, and we'll actually take you through it after you see the end process.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Oh,
so here's your product, and here's your new product.
Oh, wow.
Cool. Okay? This is
that's awesome.
This is a little lid that attaches to it, and you notice it's much smaller.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
There's a reason it's smaller. We did a lot of research. We found this was too large of a snack for children, so we got to something that's a good grazing snack. But this is the idea. I'll let you pass it around. You're going to know something really different about it.
Oh, it is different.
It's got a...
So it's 3 different
It has a dual
degrees.
gimbal.
Yeah.
And what it does is, you know, the friction that was a problem with this one?
Yes.
That's totally gone.
Awesome.
It's just encapsulated.
Oh, really
and that's what Kevin Dahlquist invented.
When Daniel showed us the design, it was a surprise. You know, we had one vision of the bowl, which was the prototype that we had brought in. So it was extremely interesting to see the variety of design approaches that he and the team had put together. It's somewhat of an eye-opener as to how much effort probably went into that, into the design. They all look great. I mean, very happy with the green bowl that he showed us.
Well, after seeing some of Daniel's initial ideation for the Spillproof Bowl, I'm excited about starting working on it. I'm the graphic designer assigned on this project, and I see a great opportunity from the design and branding standpoint to come up with something strong, unique, and very iconic. So I can't wait to start working on it, and it's going to be great.
Chuck Foley's been called an American icon. Now he's an everyday Edison. For the man who co-invented Twister and many other popular toys and games, our team couldn't wait to begin work on Chuck's newest invention, a toy shredder that gets kids excited about reading, writing, and shredding. First up for Chuck's project, members from the Everyday Edisons design, engineering, and branding teams got together to do some good old-fashioned brainstorming.
So the idea is to use a device that can shred something so kids can put it back together.
We really need a strong character for this idea. The concept's going to have it for it to be a kid's toy.
Maybe like an alien thing, because kids are into alien abduction, right?
Initial thoughts all centered around the group's decision to make the shredder a character rather than a tool. And when the eureka moment hit, it was an easy decision to make.
Maybe it's a dog that eats the homework and spits it back out.
I like the idea of dog eating the homework because he could be eating the paper like.
So Chuck's toy shredder would become a homework-eating dog, and it was up to graphic artist Jason Gammon to design one that would engage kids, not scare them.
We thought it'd be something that kids would relate to. I mean, a dog is a lovable and a little mischievous guy. It'd definitely be a character that we could have a lot of fun with. To me, to make it something that a kid would like, you have to make the dog look somewhat lovable and cute, giving him cartoony proportions, making him like an exaggerated cartoony shape.
After hours of sketching and dozens of iterations of the new character, Jason was finished drawing the shredder dog.
Oh, I love it. It's great. And if he can keep the same personality on the built structure as he does in this drawing, I think he'll be great. I can't wait.
Now it's engineer Kevin Dahlquist's turn to transform Jason's drawing into a 3D dog that actually shreds paper.
I'm really into the idea because it's kind of my forte to be just mechanically involved in mechanisms like that.
Typical builds for rapid prototypes last 8 to 12 hours. Parts for the shredder dog will take almost 100 hours.
I had to use the full scope of the machine, and in that case it was almost like some of the parts were tailored to the size because we could make them on that machine.
With more than a dozen printed pieces printed in the rapid prototyping machine, Kevin began assembling the pieces of the shredder dog puzzle.
It's exciting to see it. I put a lot more, I put more attention to detail than I really needed to as far as visually. It was really just a mock-up to prove out the mechanism, to show that it was shredding, to show that the pieces were winding up in the belly, that they were getting, randomized and everything else. So it really served its purpose in that respect, but we took it a little bit further and painted it up and finished off some of the striations in it and more stuff that we didn't really need to do, but it was fun to do, so we seized the opportunity.
With an iconic American character, the dog that ate my homework, designed and modeled, it was time to bring in American icon Chuck Foley to give him a progress report on his project.
Finally, we got to a point where we're like, okay, we've already decided these things. We need to make something that really shreds, that works the way we're talking about, and that is fun for kids or whatever. So, I mean, this is what it is, basically. Ta-da! There we have our dog shredder. Yeah, go ahead and crank it. That's what it's made for. So yeah, you'd feed him a card, and then you just turn the crank. He sucks it down in there, and it winds
chews
up
on it for a while.
Which end is it coming out of?
Well, you know what? It comes out in the middle.
Okay.
So, if we did take this to production, we'd want to address some safety concerns. We don't want things getting caught in the gears. We wouldn't want these to be able to, open and then turn, because that would just jam up the thing. But for the most part, this gets us where we want to be for this prototype.
How do you feel? You want to take him home and pet as a pet?
Scares me. Well, don't cry if they throw the animal away and play with the box.
Yeah.
Oh. It's almost like it comes alive, and the fact that the jaws work and things like that. I mean, that's kind of, I want to stick like a hot dog in there and see what happens, And don't think someone's not going to do it. Oh.
Definitely, Chuck has a lot of enthusiasm for the product, and he certainly was happy to have the opportunity as we were all to show off all the work we've done. So I think it worked out well for everybody.
So with work underway on our first 4 products, on the next episode of Everyday Edisons, work begins on our final 3 products. See if Joe's cutting board system makes the cut. Will Rebecca's grading pen pass its first test? And watch Supermoms Lynne and Karen's versatile stroller concept come to life. And on this and every episode, we conclude with a helpful invention lesson on Everyday Edisons.
Ordinary inventors should be concerned about international protection. They might choose not to get international protection, but in today's world where there's almost no borders, we've seen that inventors who developed a product in the United States and gotten a patent in the United States have found that they have had their product ripped off in international markets in countries where they don't have patents.